I think The Simpsons was very brave to do MyPods and Boomsticks, and I think it worked well. This is the 7th episode of the 20th season of The Simpsons, directed by Mike B. Anderson and Stephen Dean Moore. And I'll get in with the main part of the narrative in a moment because I have a lot of different thoughts on that. But I'll just talk briefly about the narrative involving Lisa because I thought it was really fun, definitely provided some comic relief when it was needed. MyPods refers to the fact that Lisa gets a MyPod, which is of course a parody of an iPod. I will say that the Christmas element, this takes place just around Christmas time. The Simpsons family are in the mall returning one Christmas present each, and after that fact, we just forget that it's Christmas and they're back at school and goodness knows what. But they go to the Maple store and Lisa asks for some fake white earbuds, and I'd completely forgotten that when iPods first came out, nobody else was wearing white earbuds. You didn't get white earphones with, with other MP3 players or phones or anything. And I completely forgot that if somebody had white earbuds in, it almost definitely meant they had an iPod or had bought white earbuds to look like they had an iPod. I'd completely forgotten that. But Lisa gets her MyPod, and there are various jokes throughout it relating to that. I think they definitely got all they could out of that narrative, but it worked well. The main narrative, and the bit where they were very brave with a lot of the writing, involves Bart's new friend Bashir, who has moved in next door. Will we ever see Bashir again after this episode? Who knows? Probably a lot of people know because this is season 20. But Bart learns that Bashir is a Muslim. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. Bart doesn't have a problem with this. The bullies do. And one of the bullies, I can't remember which bully it was because I wrote down the quote, but not the name of which of the bullies it was. But one of them said, "You're the reason I can't carry toothpaste on an airplane." And I just I thought, okay, this is taking that direction. And then it gets so much worse, but it's so difficult to watch. And Homer is the one who says such ridiculous things about his Muslim neighbors. He invites them over for dinner and he basically tries to goad them into saying they hate America, they're there to blow it up, all of these really horrible things, and it's so uncomfortable. But it's good that it's uncomfortable because that means, well, if you feel uncomfortable watching it, it means you know that those are not the right things to say and that that's unacceptable. And it really went quite far with a lot of things that Homer was saying and doing, and it was so difficult. And I think that the writers knew that it would be very difficult to watch because they injected some really ridiculous, really bizarre comedy. There's a there's a parody of A Whole New World, and we have the genie. I'm surprised they animated the genie with such a strong likeness to Disney's animated genie. I'm surprised they got away with that, but it looked great. And the whole thing about the almond paste, it was just so bizarre. But they needed to put that in there so it didn't become too heavy. I think they handled the subject very well. And there's one line which I think sums up people who have Homer's attitudes towards Muslims, and it's a line that Bart says at the end. I'll give you the line because it doesn't spoil any of the context. I won't give the context. I don't want to spoil the development of the narrative, but the line is something along the lines of, "Did you factor in for one bald idiot?" And that's Homer's an idiot, and that's as simple as that. And I think by making Homer look ridiculous and stupid, it really helped to show that those attitudes and opinions are just not acceptable. And you can't just say just because somebody has a certain religion, they're there to do horrific things. And I feel like I mean, this was what, 2008, I believe? Still a very, I mean, it's still a very difficult time after what happened almost a decade before this. And I think they waited a right amount of time. I mean, it's never going to be the right time, but I think enough time passed that it wasn't so fresh and so raw, but it was still relatively recent that people were having these ridiculous opinions still. I mean, those opinions still exist, unfortunately. But I think they did a brave thing, a brave thing to write something so disgusting. Homer's views, Homer's attitudes, and the bully's attitudes, so disgusting towards Muslims, but it came across well. At least in my opinion, I think they did a good job with it. And Lisa and the MyPod, I absolutely loved. I just thought that was fabulous. So it is a really powerful episode, and one I would watch it again. Absolutely, if I was watching season 20, I wouldn't skip it. But usually I watch The Simpsons because I want something light and fluffy and funny, and this hits in a different way. So it's never one that I would choose to watch. I think just because it's not light-hearted, and that's what I look for in The Simpsons. But in a way, that's definitely to the episode's credit.